My name is Andrey Talman. I work on PyTorch Dev Infra team together with Katrin and Sahan. And I work on PyTorch OSS releases. So this talk is about PyTorch OSS release process. So the first question, why do we do OSS releases? Software delivers its value in production. We need to provide production quality code so that the other people can use it in their production environments. We would like to make it easier for customers to consume the binaries via popular distribution channels such as PyPy, Anaconda, and Docker Hub. And we would like to notify the community of the new features that are available, improvements, and new changes to the system. So this is some general information about PyTorch OSS release. We distribute more than 300 binaries with each release on Conda, PyPy, and Docker. We support Linux, Windows, macOS on ARM64 and Linux Arch CPU and Linux Arch CUDA builds. And the compute platforms are CUDA. Usually it's 2 or 3 CUDA versions. One experimental, stable, and the legacy. Legacy is optional. CPU, ROCm, and XPU builds, which are Intel XPU, currently in the prototype stage. General information, 4 times a year release, minor release, and for each minor release, we release at least 1 or 2 patch releases on as-needed basis. An approximate date for the releases are published in release.md file under PyTorch, and this file contains the releases basically a year ahead. So if you're interested when next releases, consult this file. Docs and tutorials are all automated. Getting started page update is automated. So those are the phases and milestones for OSS release. It starts with the preparation work when we publish the announcement, when the release is going to be starting, when we're going to be releasing. We establish release team. The release team is typically 2 release engineer, document engineering team member, POC for release notes, marketing person, and partner engineering person. Then the feature submission, feature prioritization phase happens. This phase takes about 5 to 6 weeks. It's mostly asynchronous process. We ask our partners to submit a list of features to us, and we classify the features. And during this phase, we expect all of the code to be landed at the end of this phase. Then we start launch readiness phase, which about 5 to 6 weeks, and it starts with the branch cut. So by this date, all the code is landed, and we start cherry picking, and finally the release. So the feature classification. It's basically stable beta and prototype features. Stable features mean that the user value has been proven, the API is not expected to change, the feature is performant, and all documentation exists for this feature. Beta features, the API can still change. There may be missing performance, there may be some performance issue, missing coverage across operators or other things that are not delivered yet. And the prototype features are the new features and the early stage of development and testing. So this is our feature classification requirements matrix. You can see that this matrix basically helps us to see what is still missing for the feature to be promoted from prototype to beta or from beta to stable. Launch readiness, a branch cut. There are some prerequisites for it. All the feature work must be completed, and all CI/CD pipeline needs to be green in order to do the branch cut and then later produce the RC. So we cut the release branch from viable strict and PyTorch core repo. We perform release-only changes as required, produce the first RC, run the validation workflows on this RC, and then repeat for each domain that is participating in the release. Currently, those are Torch Audio and Torch Vision. After the branch cut has been done, we create a cherry picking issue it's a special issue that people should post their cherry picks on as the comments. And this is the acceptance criteria to accept the cherry pick. The cherry pick must fall into any of those, at least one of those criteria. So it's mostly fixes against the regression, critical fixes, test and CI fixes, documentation improvement, compilation fixes, or release branch specific changes. If the change is a feature work, we'll most likely will not accept it. And then finally, it's release launch and button press meeting. There are some prerequisites for it, is that we need to have the final RC built, validated. Normally, we promote to download pytorch.org, which is our PyP index, and Conda the day before the actual release meeting, so that we can test it and make sure everything is working. Automated PR for getting started page ready, documentation tutorial ready, marketing materials are ready, and release notes are ready. And then basically we finally held the meeting where we promote binaries to PyP and go through the list of notes and make sure that we don't miss anything. So we run the validation framework, update release matrix, release notes, tutorials, and everything. And this basically concludes the minor release process. So post-release, so this happens right after the release is delivered. Next week, we held the release retrospective where we discuss issues with the release, create action items for each of the issues discovered, review any outstanding action items from the previous releases, and this is a process done to be able to incrementally improve the release and make sure the issues that we see in the current one we don't encounter in the next release. And we start patch release planning. It's maintenance release. Usually we do 1 or 2 between each minor release, and it starts immediately after the release is delivered. This is our release pipeline. It's built on GitHub Actions. It's using the same pipeline is used for the nightly builds. We just modified slightly to produce release binaries. And it's very straightforward. The graph goes from left to right. We build the binary, we run tests on it, we upload it to the distribution system, and then the last step is to run the validation framework and install Torch, Torch Vision, Torch Audio as basically one ecosystem and run the smoke test. This makes sure that any binaries that we produce out of 300 plus binaries are actually usable and people can download it and use it. What's next for PyTorch OSS releases? We would like to eliminate dependency on the builder projects. Currently, we have 3 projects that we use. It's PyTorch, PyTorch Builder, and Test Infra. And this creates maintenance issues. So by eliminating one, I think we're going to be, it's going to be easier introducing new CUDA and ROCM XPU version updates. We would like to improve onboarding new libraries to PyTorch Dev infrastructure easier by improving new tooling. And yeah, we need to continuously improve release testing, validation pipeline, and improve performance testing for PyTorch OSS releases, Torch Bench code specifically for OSS releases. So our ultimate goal for OSS releases is having nightlies continuously releasable, and we can catch regression across whole PyTorch ecosystem as soon as they're introduced. So those are the resources. If you have questions for us, please create an issues under PyTorch with labels, model binaries, on-call relink. General release information is under release MD in PyTorch, and look for the dev discuss release announcement section.